Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mystical Awakenings with Deb and Arjay.
Hi, everybody.
Great to be here with you. Great to be alive. And welcome to KGRA, the best place on the web where we can connect and stay connected. We have a very serious and, of course, interesting show tonight. There's been a lot happening with the weather. As you all know, we just dealt with Hurricane Milton going through Florida last night. Thank goodness wasn't quite as bad as they predicted it might be.
Still devastating, yeah.
It's still devastating. There's still millions without power. There's at least 6 people that they know have died. There was a story about a rescue of a 14-year-old boy who was floating on a piece of wood, a piece of deck or something,
Oh my God.
and they rescued him. So there's a lot of devastation even now with that. But our guests tonight are 2 people that are very near and dear to our hearts. And the day of the hurricane, I woke up that morning with a terrible feeling in my gut and tried to contact them and didn't get an answer. So I tried calling and it went straight to voicemail. And I thought, oh gosh, no cell,
As
what's
I did
going
too,
on?
yeah.
And then we talked, and you tried to call, I think, a few times. And we actually kind of went into a panic mode, concerned that, we couldn't contact them. And that's pretty scary. And you have to think about the millions of people that went through this. So, things like this affect not only the people right there, but the families around them, their loved ones who live far away. There was a lot of devastation. But we wanted them to come on tonight because, the human thing is something happens somewhere else and everybody says, oh, I'm glad they're okay or whatever. But
We're not talking about the Florida hurricane. We're talking about the one
we are talking about
Helene.
Yes. And that was 2 weeks ago, just 2 weeks ago. But for these people and millions of others, it's been a very long, hard 2 weeks. So without further ado, can we bring in Michael Carter and his beautiful wife, Dawn? We're so happy to have you both.
Hey,
And safe.
yes,
Hi.
safe is good.
Oh,
And I was touched by everybody worrying, and I just want to thank you for that. And we made it through, and we're still here.
Safe
Right.
and intact. Safe and
There was a lot of damage
Right.
around us.
Right.
In fact, there was like 15 trees that came down
in our neighborhood.
in our neighborhood. We had flash flooding out here, so we were kind of trapped. Remember, I went out that morning and you couldn't get away. There were power lines down, and it was scary. But we live a little higher up, and we live about 10 minutes from Asheville proper. When we bought this house, we're like just down the street from Asheville.
Right.
So we got a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, and my office is downtown.
Yes.
Asheville. So
Yeah, and I want to get into some of that. What you're seeing there, and what's going on there, because now, so you're just a little out of town, but a little higher.
Literally, we are 30 seconds to South Asheville.
yeah,
That's-
probably.
that's South
A few
Asheville.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
City.
minutes drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
As
So-
a matter of fact, I'm glad we weren't in Asheville proper, because it would have been
Right.
horrendous.
Yeah.
Right.
Whole areas were submerged, like the River Arts District.
Yeah, and Biltmore Village area.
Yeah, they're underwater. Some restaurants are gone.
Oh my God.
People's homes are gone.
Right.
right.
Mudslides.
Buildings, fairly new apartment building that was built within the last, 4 or 5 years, completely condemned because it was flooded through to the second floor.
People evacuated. We heard about people being evacuated from rooftop. It was Katrina-esque, but I don't think
Yeah.
it was on the scale because that whole dam came through. But
Yeah.
and we heard of, FEMA's been here. You see the military helicopters, and there were stories of people being evacuated from the hospital by helicopter.
Right.
That would be scary.
Did the hospital get flooded? Hospital got flooded?
Not that we know of, not our
Oh.
local hospitals, but there was a hospital in Tennessee that I was under our understanding was flooded.
Yeah, and I want to
And
get
that's
into
when
that
they were
too.
evacuating people.
So take us back to the day before. Were you warned that this was coming, or did you have any idea it was going to be this bad, or did anybody know?
Yeah, I have a small business and office in downtown Asheville, and my employees were saying, "Oh, they say we're going to get 15 inches of rain," and I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is there was another storm that came through on Thursday
Okay.
and dumped a whole lot of rain. So by the time Helene came through, everything was already saturated.
Oh.
And Thursday we had a storm and we lost power. For, I don't know, 8 to 12 hours or so. I think it was about 8 hours. We actually lost power. Came back on in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. on Friday. So we thought, okay, we're set. We're okay. And then woke up again and had lost power
Oh, hell broke loose.
on Friday.
Yeah, and I have to be honest, they hype it so much.
Michael kept saying, "No, this is just they're just hyping it. It's not going to be that
I said, there are times they have, and and then it's like 3 minutes of rain, and so I thought that it was BS, but I was wrong. Boy, was I wrong. But this is my second hurricane. I got caught in a hurricane. But what do they call them? Tornadoes in the Caribbean?
No, they're hurricanes.
That was a hurricane. I got caught in a hurricane in the Dominican Republic.
Oh boy.
And boy, that was terrifying because here you got it's just you're on an island. And the person I was with flew back to New York the day before. They had to go to work.
Right.
And I had never been in one before. But people were kind of, and I was getting a little nervous as it got close. I was being macho, but I was like, it was getting windy and there's nothing around you but water. And it came, boy, did it come. The hotel was flooded. My room was flooded. The clothes I bought for vacation, my closets were flooded. And it was really scary. So, and the next day, it was like nothing ever happened.
Wow.
So this is my second one, but different. I'm on a mainland now. I'm not in.
I grew up in Florida, so I have, I've had experienced hurricanes before.
Right.
And, but again, my employees were saying on Wednesday, they were saying, we're going to get 15 inches of rain. Where's all that rain going to go? What's going to happen? And, by the time I got home Wednesday night, I realized, you know what? The roads aren't going to be safe. We just need to work remotely.
Right.
So we decided we would work remotely on Thursday and Friday, but I had no idea that it was going to be to this kind of devastation, and that I expected we'd lose power for a little while. And we even put out a message, if we lose power, you won't be able to reach us, but once we're back online, we'll contact you. I was thinking, by Monday, everything would be back to normal again, but it didn't turn out that way.
I mean, trees, remember the trees? These trees were turned, it looked like you were in Vietnam, like it was carpet bombed. Wow. And these trees were turned over. I'm talking about oak trees, thick trees, right? Not oak trees.
Root systems that are the size of a car.
Yeah.
Right. Systems that are the size of a car.
That they were exposed.
Yeah.
We had, fortunately, they weren't live wires, but there were wires out in the street. If luckily they weren't on, if you drive over it, your troubles are over. And so, and then we had a flash flood out here. And, you have to be careful because if you can't get out of your car,
right,
you start to, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
And people were driving.
Were they really?
And one person got stuck. I mean, I God bless them. But so and then, but it was like we got lucky. We went without power for 6 days. We had water. They're telling us to boil it, but we're kind of not doing. We got all this bottled water. We just got internet back. day before yesterday. Then it went out again today, which is
Right.
we almost canceled. But I mean, compared, there's no loss of life. There are places where bodies were, FEMA's here. They're still counting bodies.
Mudslides where houses were lost.
Yes,
completely.
yes. It was
Yeah. Michael's, the community
church-
where Michael's church is was really hard hit.
yeah.
There are a lot of deaths
and
there.
part of what was that? Part of the highway? Part of
Part of the
40
interstate
collapsed.
Wow.
Oh
Part
my.
of the interstate. It just fell. And
So-
I haven't been to church. We got some damage, but we're getting FEMA's helping us, the denominations. We may have services hopefully by the end of the month. But
So it was more damage at the church and not water.
we got mold,
flood.
we got
Oh.
flood, and 2 trees fell, but luckily not on the church.
Right.
So we're getting like $30,000 to help us refurbish.
clean up.
What about your business, Dawn? What happened down there?
Well, our business is mental health, and we provide support to employers.
Right.
So, people look to us at times of need, times of crisis.
Right.
Like
We
now.
couldn't, right, exactly. But we couldn't communicate. I was driving up the street to try to find a cell connection.
Yeah.
But we were working blind. We didn't have any phone numbers. We didn't have any way of contacting, even trying to call people, if they weren't in a spot where they had cell service at that exact moment, you just couldn't get in touch with anyone.
Did you have
So-
physical damage at your place?
We did not, but we just got our electricity and our internet back yesterday,
Wow.
and we have no water in our office. So I have lugged bins of water so we can flush toilets. We're gonna have to limit the number of people who are there until we get water, which will probably be weeks.
Right.
But overall, we were blessed because all of our employees were safe. Their homes were intact.
Wow.
They are all still at varying degrees of not having water or electricity.
Jesus.
So
Yeah. And Kevin, our daughter, has 2 friends who they just lost their homes.
Oh my
One in a
gosh.
mudslide and one in a mudslide and a tree
Trees.
falling.
Yeah.
They've lost it.
They weren't in the
It's
home though, were they?
No.
Well, the one
Well,
where the
one
trees
was.
fell, the family was in the home. Luckily, they were not hurt. They
Right.
were able to get out of the
Oh
house.
my
but the
God.
house
And
is
and
not.
one of our neighbors, the tree fell on. Well, 2 of them now. But she wasn't in the house, and the woman. we
One
saw
has
the
a
other
hole in
day.
her roof,
And then another
and
one
the other
has
one
a tree.
has a tree through the garage.
And what's the temperatures down there now? Getting cold?
Getting to be fall. It's in the 50s.
Okay.
It's in the 50s in the morning
70s in the day.
and 70s in the day.
Perfect. I
which,
would love
which
that.
is fortunate because one of the things that happens after floods and those kind of things is that warm air then comes in and mold and
Yeah.
bacteria grow and grow and grow.
Yeah.
And that's still
Yeah.
happening here. It's just not
Yeah.
happening to
Like-
the degree that it can happen.
Like in my
Florida.
church.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in my church.
Now, is anybody able to drive downtown yet? Or
Yeah. Downtown proper of Asheville
Ugh.
was actually not really, there's not a lot of physical damage in the downtown
wow.
of Asheville. It's just some of the
Suburbs.
areas that surround, not even suburbs,
No,
but
no.
the area of the city that kind of surround downtown.
Okay.
Yeah, but not sub. I mean, you're close. I mean, the River Arts District.
The River Arts District, which is right on the river, which is why they call it that.
And it's underwater.
It was. It's no
Yeah.
longer. And then and Biltmore Village, which is right around the entrance of the Biltmore Estate. And so all of them now, the water has receded, but it left behind this muck, dirt. And for a while it was mud. Now it's brown, just dirt everywhere.
I'll put
Yeah.
it to you like this: when we went to see Kevin, I told you that our daughter
Yeah.
on Friday last week.
Right.
We came back on Sunday. There were like 15 people on the plane. When we went on the shuttle to go to get the car, one of the airport employees said, "You don't have to." I told her, he was asking me about, is my daughter coming down for the holiday? And he said, "Well, don't worry about it. Flights should be cheap," which have not been, because no one's coming to Asheville for quite some time.
Right.
I mean, this was a tourist town, And
Right.
now it's,
But we're going to need that. We're going to need tourism to come back. That's part of what's happening downtown is all of those businesses, they can be, except for the ones who are really dependent on water, the shops and those kind of things can be open, but there's nobody to shop. There's nobody
No.
there. It's economically going to be devastating for Asheville, not only because of the loss so far these last 2 weeks, but
Yeah.
all of the tourism that we're losing because people aren't going to want to come here.
I mean, you're talking about a town that a couple times in the past couple of years had $1 billion in tourism.
Wow.
$1 billion.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, what's that?
So your opinion, I'm sorry, your opinion, how long do you think this is going to really take to get back? How many years?
Oh, it's going to take years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I think certain areas like the River Arts District and Biltmore Village, the rebuilding of that is going to take years. There's no
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I would say at least 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe more, but at least 3, realistically speaking.
And that's pushing.
And
it.
and when FEMA comes in, it's a mess. When FEMA has to come in, and there have been military helicopters. One of them looked like a helicopter you see after a ship. It was like I couldn't see it because of the
Right.
sun. I saw it. It looked like it was all black. But you see them coming in. They're dropping off supplies.
Right.
People are still without power.
Right.
People are still without water 2 weeks after the fact. So that gives you some idea of the devastation. We were just fortunate because, 15 trees came down around us. And, when you realize people lost their homes, when you realize they're still finding bodies,
Yeah.
I think the death toll went up with Milton to 9. I'm sure it'll be much more.
Mhm.
20 million people without power in Florida, and we had the brunt of Helene. But it's not all doom and gloom, and we can both speak to that. Just how people banded together. You go on and talk about that, and
It just is heartwarming. I mean, so many stories I've been hearing about people who, said hi to their neighbors but didn't know them, who
Right.
started, they pooled together their resources and were, one person brought out the camp stove and the other person brought out the food they had before it went bad in their refrigerator, and they had
Right.
meals. We had a neighbor who, we had neighbors knocking on our door offering us food. One gave us a little propane stove
because
to
we
cook
didn't
on.
have food. We were eating out of the canned goods.
We're not
Yeah.
campers,
You
so we
know,
don't have that.
And so we stood in line to get food. We had
Yeah.
to stand in line, and they were letting 10 people in at a time, and you couldn't use your credit card. It was only cash. And
Right.
The first time we were able to get into Publix and get ice, I was just crying walking through the grocery
Right,
store.
right.
It just was so overwhelming just to be able to have ice to take home.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes you reprioritize because, and we were fortunate. Maybe we're not fortunate the next one, but in the twinkling of an eye, everything you have is gone.
Right.
But again, the heartwarming stories. Yes, there were people.
Even the people who are working at Publix. I mean, these people also, they, their homes are equally as devastated as others, but they showed up
Right.
to work to be there so that other people could stand in line for an hour to get in and buy ice.
And you still had
Right.
people who acted a fool. Somebody shot somebody over, gasoline or
Oh
over
my
a
God.
parking space. You're always going to have that.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
But I'm telling you, the stories of people coming together, for me, it's just sad that it takes a hurricane before we
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Nobody cared whether you wanted Trump or you wanted Kamala. Nobody cared if you were trans or gay
Right.
or whatever. People just said, "How are you? You need help?
Yes.
How are you holding up?"
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be. I don't want to shoot all over it.
Exactly.
Right. We
But-
should be that way
but-
all the
but-
time. Yeah.
But I got to tell you, people will go back to their corners in a few weeks.
Yeah. That seems to be the way it
They'll,
happens.
they'll go
yes.
right back to it. And then there'll be another catastrophe, and hopefully we'll do it again. But I'm thinking, why can't we just do this all the time?
Well,
Right.
and it was that what is it, the double-edged sword or the flip side of the coin. One of the hardest parts was not being able to communicate with people. not being
Right.
able to get a text or to send a text, not to be able to let my mom know I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of things
Or
were really,
us.
really hard. But it was also a nice break to not hear about the election, to
Yeah.
not be looking at social media,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
not
it was good.
have all of that bombardment constantly.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
It's
and to go to
nice.
sleep, I got to tell you, you go 6 days with just candlelight. You see what the ancestors were doing. Because we couldn't, at night we just had to light a candle. We were going to
We
bed,
were in bed at
7:30,
7:30 because it was dark out.
and getting sleep.
Right.
And so the it shifted some things. I mean, we're not saying anything that you probably don't know, but to have to live it, because again, these folks who lost their homes.
Right.
Can you imagine that?
Right.
And
No, I
to
can't
see
really.
somebody floating down the river. I mean, I've seen dead bodies. I'm a chaplain, but it's a different context, because just like that, because it could have been us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That tree that fell down up there, it could have been us.
Yeah.
We had some trees in our yard, and about 2 months, just intuitively, 2 months ago, we decided to cut them because
Wow.
they were dangerously close to the house. They were
Right.
actually touching the house.
Mhm.
And so, good thing we did it, because
Yeah.
2 months later,
Yeah. Your house went
You
under
know,
the street.
It could have been in our kitchen.
it could have been in our kitchen.
Right.
And just people coming. Our neighborhood, people are friendly, but they don't get in your business. Friendly,
Right.
you know what I mean, and which
Right.
I appreciate.
Yeah.
But we got to know our neighbors pretty well, and that was good. And you hear these stories all over about people just coming together. What do you need, and providing that.
Mhm.
And that's the silver lining in all of this, I feel.
Mhm, absolutely.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if you should start a block thing where, but if you can keep the politics out of it, if you keep whatever out of it, and just talk about, if something like this happens again, we'll have a plan, or something.
Well, it's going to happen again, and
Yeah.
and our leaders need to have a plan.
Yeah.
But this was so good because we didn't have to depend on that. Yes, again, FEMA came in, and we're happy for that.
Yeah.
And there are people driving from different states to say, I'm going to volunteer, and I'm going to bring water up or what have you.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing. Again, it's just that it reminded me a little bit of 9/11.
Yeah.
I was in New York for that, and just how people did come together, but you could not call anyone. They turned the satellites off in case the terrorists were still talking. So they shut down the subways. They turned all satellites off. And there were payphones back in the day. You couldn't even put money in a payphone. And so you couldn't communicate. So if you had a loved one who was on the subway when the towers came down, you didn't know. You could guess, but
Right.
you didn't know if they were alive or dead.
Right.
Well, that was, you talked about your daughter didn't know either, right? Yeah.
No, she didn't. She saw everything. She got in touch with her mom, my ex, but she didn't know. And that was one of the good things for us to go up there to
Yeah.
see her, for her to see us. It's all right. Glad you're not here, and we'll make it.
I'm
It was
surprised
also
you
good
guys.
for us to be
Yeah.
someplace where life is
Yeah,
normal.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I'm surprised you got to fly out.
We were concerned. They just had started commercial flights, I think, like 2 days before
Yeah,
our
we
flight.
didn't know if we were going to make it.
So
Right.
So thank
And
goodness
then
we
coming
did.
back again, there were like 15 people on the plane. One person got on the plane and didn't know what her house was going to look like,
Yeah.
because there were
Well-
several people out of town when this happened.
Now, Bill, our producer, he had a video on during somebody called him, and I think it was about Helene, Bill, and said that a gal got into somebody's house, and they finally found her. Bill, are you there?
Must be busy.
Yeah. So, and then she just took residence in somebody's house, and she didn't know what to do, and it took a while to find her. And a dog came by. She let the dog in the house. So, yeah, I just can't imagine, you guys. Wow.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is most of us can't imagine, the moment that happened. But you guys are saying that when it hit, you weren't even really aware. You knew it was raining and windy.
And we knew that, they'd given us reports there were going to be a lot of high winds.
Mhm.
by the time, after Wednesday, Thursday, I kind of figured out, yeah, this is going to be a bad storm. Trees are going to come down. We're going to lose power. Kind of knew that, but not to this amount of the devastation
Right.
that we've had.
And you have rivers
Yeah.
running through town,
Yeah.
right? You have rivers running through town, right, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, right
There's
out
actually two rivers that join in downtown Asheville, the Swananoa and the
and
French
the
Broad.
French Broad.
They join together.
And that's
there.
But I'm just saying, even the flash floods out
We
here.
have a creek in our
We have
neighborhood.
a creek, and it overflowed into the street.
Yeah.
Right.
And people were trying to drive through it. It's dangerous.
The roads were so blocked off with water or with down power lines that we could not get through to go to check out my office.
Yeah, I tried to get out, and we were hemmed in on three sides.
And we ended up having to drive, I don't know, about 20 miles south of here to Hendersonville to get on the interstate to get up to downtown Asheville so I could check my office and make sure it was okay.
Yeah, and just to get food, we left here to get food. We got 2 bags. We went to South Carolina to try to find food.
Oh my.
And we came back with a bottle of champagne. Always going to have that.
Right.
Two bags of potato chips and 3 waters. It was like a Woody Allen movie.
Yeah.
And we went all the way.
It wasn't any better there than it was.
We went.
here.
We got gas. We got gas.
Yeah.
So we went to another state and came back with 4 bottled waters, a bottle of champagne, and 2 bags of potato chips to eat.
That was when the gas lines were so long. I mean, there were in Asheville, there were gas lines almost a mile long. And so we were afraid if we kept driving, we were either going to run out of gas and not be able to get home, or we needed to turn around.
Right.
Well, let us be clear. I was afraid that we were going to run out of gas. I'm not a macho man. She said, well, maybe we should go to Spartanburg? Well, we went to
Greenville.
Greenville. I'm like, what? We're going to die here. I said, let's try. So, yeah.
I tend to be a bit more of the optimist. when we went to Massachusetts, so one of the things is I wanted to get a Starlight for us to be able to have internet.
Which we
wanted
got.
One for home and for my office.
Unbelievable.
And so, you can't get them here. We couldn't even get to Best Buy to get one. So I said, well, the one thing I want to do while we're in Massachusetts is go to Best Buy and see if we can get one and carry it back with us. So we would have it.
These things are 40 pounds.
So we went and
she wanted.
I said to the clerk was,
like 2 bowling balls.
I'm going to buy them, but I want to carry it back on
She
the
wanted
plane,
to be
so
a
we need
carry-on.
know.
She said, can we tape them together and I can carry on the plane? I said, what are you saying? The guy just looked. He wants to make the sale. I said, brother, please, please tell her this is too big to bring on the plane. He hesitated because he wanted to make the sale. But he said, I wouldn't. That's not a carry-on. 2 Starlights? These things are this
What
big.
if you put them in 2 bags?
They're bigger than a suitcase. They're bigger than a carry-on. I have to admit, I was a little deluded for a while because I wanted to bring it back so badly, but they did end up shipping it to us, and we got it today after we got internet back.
Yeah.
Wow.
We still may try to put it up.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was an adventure.
Yeah.
And my God, was it an adventure?
I don't even know what they look like.
How do you describe it?
The Starlight, it's like a little flat satellite. It almost looks like a solar panel. It's a satellite.
And you can put it up on your roof, or you can
just
put it
out in
the yard,
like the driveway.
It just needs to have an open space to the sky, and it gives you internet.
It connects through the satellite. Rather than the fiber optic cable.
Oh.
Yeah. It's good. We decided we need to get a generator.
Yeah.
Because this is going to happen again. And we need to I don't want to drive to South Carolina for a can of beans.
But, I've heard.
I just don't. I can't take it anymore.
But there's just no guarantees. One of my employees had a generator connected to her entire house. and it was propane, and they had a propane tank just
And it
for the
did-
generator.
And it didn't
Yeah.
work.
No, the storm flipped the propane
Oh.
tank,
Oh my God.
flipped her generator.
Oh,
So
no.
the propane was all in her yard now.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
And you know, it was
So if you
music.
if you
It's
burn
good
some
music.
incense, or if you light a match,
Boom,
you
you're
know,
gone.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you can hook those things that you're talking about to natural gas too, and that would be better. 'Cause I
yeah.
never
But
even
you don't
thought
want to
of
have
it.
gas in your. I mean, it's scary.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we had a little, like I said, we're not campers. Our neighbor gave, because we couldn't even cook on the stove, so they gave us a little propane thing, and we just heated soup up there. You know, put some boiled eggs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we're going to start. I know, it's not a doomsday thing, but we need to start having some more canned goods here because it's going to happen again.
More bottled water.
And
Yeah.
that kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
just tuna fish, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
For the new normal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because like you said, you never know. You never know. But,
Listen, brother, I got to tell you, and you know I'm not lying, and you know it. It's not just Al Gore. You know, Al Gore got famous from it, but you know, if you go back in the Bible, go back in the Mahabharata, go back to these Aboriginal stories, the times that they're talking about, we live in now.
right.
And they
Right.
talked about, they called them earth changes.
Yeah.
You can call them what you want, but they have happened. Pole shifts, tornadoes, floods,
Yeah.
big rocks coming out of the sky, comets,
Yeah.
asteroids. We live in that time,
Right.
and it's just the luck of the draw. And you know, people are kidding themselves if they don't think. Give you an example. There was this YouTube thing that was on. It's been on for a couple years. His name is Chief Oren, Oren Lyons. He's a native brother. He's a medicine man for one of the tribes up near where we were in New England. He had it was about 20 minutes long, called "The Storm Is Coming," and he was talking about Native American prophecies. You know, about that we need to we're chasing the dollar and we're just destroying the planet.
Right.
And he said that when will you learn that money's not going to buy your way out of everything, and that the money that you make, you're going to be spending, governments will be spending this money on FEMA, on disasters, that kind of thing. So I found it, I had it saved on my computer. Do you know they took it down?
Oh, wow.
They took it down. You can't see it anymore.
Wow.
And it's called "The Storm Is Coming." He says the storm is here.
Yeah.
And this was, they took, so, I mean, this is what we're dealing with, this kind of mentality. Well, you got to take that off. You got to take that down. But these stories are prophetic. I'm not talking about end of the world stuff. I mean, you could link it to apocalyptic stuff, but Edgar Casey talked about this. We live in that time.
Yeah.
We just had Milton. There's going to be more.
Yeah.
And if you don't prepare for it, shame on you.
Mhm.
Now, you talked to me about you guys originally kind of moved there because you heard it was going to be a safer place to live, right?
No, I didn't, but I met people who did. I wasn't even thinking like that. We moved here when I was
they
with
say
my
there's safe
ed.
places to live, yeah.
Well, I found out how safe it was once
Right.
I had moved here. We just needed to get out, and it was kind of like we were led here. I told you that story of
Right.
how I moved to Asheville, but and then we had heard that guy George Michael Scallion. You can Google him. He kept having this recurring dream for like 2-3 weeks in a row, and it was of a map of the United States.
Right.
And Florida, Baltimore, New York, all the way, they were gone. The East Coast started here where we live now in the Appalachian Mountains.
Yep.
The West Coast.
Beachfront territory there.
Yes. The West Coast was gone. The West Coast started up here, Seattle, coming down to New Mexico. California gone. the Great Lakes and all that where you are was all flooded out. So Mississippi, Ohio, all that was water now in the middle of the country. He had this dream for 2 weeks in a row, maybe longer. Again, his name is George Michael Scallion.
Yeah.
You'll find the map.
I heard, yeah.
You know, now it didn't happen. He was talking about the year 2000, but it could happen. We could see California go under. They don't have water, but there's an earthquake just waiting to happen. You know, Florida, parts of New York, I mean, all the way up, they could go because these glaciers are melting. So we're living in that time that's been talked about for thousands of years.
Right.
About they were called earth changes. People talked about a pole shift that had happened. Edgar Cayce talked about the pole shift.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's not pleasant. It is an inconvenient truth, to quote Brother Gore's book. But just because you don't want to think about it doesn't mean it's not happening. And so that's why we're saying we need to be a little more prepared.
Right.
You know?
I'll tell you a little story. I've seen a couple of those maps. Believe it or not, where we live, because there's a mountain range that runs east of us, up around us, and back down. That Houghton Lake is an island when that happens. We're in an island.
Yeah.
It's one of the safe places in Michigan. It's weird. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what it shows.
Well, it could be. I mean, we live in the Appalachian Mountains, but the water level can go up. You know, I mean, if we believe these flood stories that every culture has memory of it, those mountains, they had to be pretty high mountains. I mean, there's always a few survivors, but those mountains go into water.
If those poles start melting, then that's going to add to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I just, like I said, I'm glad you guys are okay, man. I mean, we can't imagine we live here, but.
Well, the calls were appreciated. The text, we just couldn't get back to you, which was another thing altogether. Hopefully with the Starlight, that'll help. But the fiber optics underground, once they get wet, it really doesn't matter. You can't connect with anybody. You know what someone told me? I was talking to them yesterday. They said that they were going to get a hard line in their house just to have. So if something like this happened, you don't have to worry about Spectrum or whatever. You got an old-fashioned hard line, and you could call.
Okay.
I guess.
Oh, just like a regular phone.
Yeah.
Like a landline.
Like a landline.
Landline. Okay. Those were still good, huh? We have one in our house, but
I think that they may not be good for long, but
we never use
they
it.
would probably last longer than this.
Right.
So as of right now, how do things sit around you guys as far as people being fed and gas and all of that? Are things equaling out?
The gas lines have gone down. We get gas tankers in, so gas is easily obtainable now. There are so many distribution sites for water, bottles of water, but they're giving. I mean, this is what they're giving. You know, cases of this.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can get water. There are places that they're distributing food. There are still people who are in great need of that. I talked to somebody today.
They're giving out free food at
She's
some
looking
places.
for free food. She was looking for food because they lost everything.
Right.
And so there are people who desperately need that. And that is their entire day is consumed by trying to find the resources.
Mm-hmm.
Filling out the FEMA forms are incredibly difficult to do. They're incredibly difficult when you have all the technology and the connection that you need. But when you're trying to do it on a cell phone at a parking lot, because that's the only place you have a cell reception, it's even more challenging.
Right.
So there's places that people are there to help fill out FEMA forms and help, get people connected to a laptop and internet.
Right.
But again, you have to be able to get there. It's just incredibly draining for the people who have lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
most folks, I think, probably who have their homes intact and have shelter are, at least in a safe place. There are still a lot of people without power.
Mhm.
I still have employees who are without power.
People haven't taken a shower.
There are
Yeah,
the majority of people in Asheville do not have water, do not have clean water
Right.
to bathe in or to cook with. And they are being told that it's still weeks out.
Mhm.
They won't even give a date or a number of weeks. They're making progress. There are the Corps of Army engineers are here. There are all kinds of specialists. They are making a lot of progress, but the water system for the majority of Asheville it's trashed.
They set up like centers you can go to if you're
Yeah.
homeless. Okay.
The Ys have showers that people can go. And so do some of the Lowe's. They've set up showers for people and places where people can do laundry.
And one of our UU churches, Hendersonville, is inviting people to come over for a hot meal and a warm shower.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are places you can go, but that takes up. It's not like you're just going to go get in a shower and be done. You have to stand in line. It takes hours to do that.
Right.
It takes hours to get your basic needs met.
Right.
So again, my employees, they want to get back to work, but they also want to take a shower.
Yeah.
So
we're going to let them. Dawn's going to.
They're going to start coming
we
to
said
our house.
You can come here
and
take a shower.
But even with that, most of them.
Water.
A round trip to our house is probably about an hour.
Yeah.
So
that's their whole day.
Hour drive. There's the time it takes them
that's here,
and then back. And those things are exhausting when you don't have your own place and your own space.
And a lot of roads are still closed, right?
Yes.
Pretty much.
More and more are open every day. There are still certain areas
that are washed
closed.
out, that are still washed out, especially for people who live up on a mountain.
Yeah.
I talked to someone today who's stuck. They can't get down.
Wow.
They can't get down. But it's a game changer.
Yeah.
And again, the outpouring of people who have come to help. One of my employees had people knocking on their door saying, "Can we help you move the trees so you guys can get out of your street?"
Right.
They're just people who have come to be here to help. World Kitchen is here. They're making gourmet meals for people.
Oh, nice.
It's just really amazing and touching.
It is. As a matter of fact, the Grahams had called. Some people from my church had called. I'll get back to them, obviously, but they're getting 2 hot meals a day. They don't have water. They can't take a shower. But the neighbors got together. They're cooking on a grill, and they're out there and. Just people banding together. It's a beautiful thing. It's just that I wish it would last.
I think it's something you can probably talk about in your services, right?
Oh, no question. No question. As a matter of fact, we can't have church this Sunday, but Saturday I'm going to videotape a message for them.
Right.
And they'll see it Sunday morning.
That's a good message. Trust me that, we should be doing this all the time. So.
Yeah. So are grocery stores and banks and things like that now open?
Not completely. The banks, depends on the bank. Our credit union is only open for limited hours, I think 9:30 to 4, something like that.
And that's only recently, last Friday.
Yeah, they just opened. Some of the banks are at least opening in some areas. Maybe not all the branches are open, but they do have banks open.
And some of the grocery stores are starting to come back.
Yeah, they're mostly open, but they may not have their shelves aren't necessarily fully
we went
stocked.
in. The shelves are not fully stocked.
So people getting food is really an issue. Even if they did have a way to cook, they don't have a way to. Probably everything they had was ruined.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we had to throw all our food out.
The amount of trash.
We just went bad.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Jeez.
Yeah, and we just got trash pickup this week as well. That was one of the wins one day.
Yeah.
The trash came. They came and got the trash.
Yeah, it was. But it's those things that you take for granted. But it's also those things, at least for me, you know that
Yeah.
how easy it is for me, I just to get too comfortable that that some things you can do without, and some things you may have to do without.
Right.
Right.
So that was something for me, and but just how quick things can change. I
Your
mean,
life can
in
change.
the
Yeah.
twinkling of an eye,
Right.
by an act of God.
What about animals and
No
stuff?
one,
Was there
and
wildlife
and it
running
could
around
go.
that was, was people encountering
Yeah,
wildlife that?
there are certain areas where
That's a
bears
great
are
question.
prevalent here.
All of these are great questions. Yeah,
Yeah. North Asheville is known to have bears in their neighborhoods.
but we haven't seen them.
We haven't, but we're in South Asheville. I have a friend who said, yeah, there's looters in North Asheville, and it was all the bears going through the trash that people had put out.
But we haven't seen a lot. It's been a change in the wildlife. The birds didn't come by. We feed them. They didn't come by for a couple of days. You didn't see squirrels. I mean, it affects us obviously, and we're disconnected from the natural world for the most part.
Right.
Just think what it did to them.
My groundhog nemesis hasn't showed back up in our garden.
We saw a dead squirrel, and it wasn't dead because someone ate it. It probably drowned or got hit or something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure shelters are doing what they can. With all of these people that lost homes, there's also animals who lost homes.
So I'm, the Asheville Humane Society got a grant, or not a grant. They got funding through the Bissell Foundation. And right after the storm, they flew in supplies because you can't house 200 animals and not have water.
Right.
Exactly.
So they flew in supplies, and then they flew out about all the animals that were adoptable. They flew them out to another county for them to be taken care of there.
And you're involved in that.
Yes, yeah.
That's
But now the issue is that there are displaced animals. There are animals that are loose. There are animals that they can't find their people. So the shelters are filling right back up again. We had one animal rescue, Brother Wolf, here in town, which is known to rescue animals from high kill shelters all over the Southeast. And they were housed near the river, and their building is completely destroyed.
Oh, God.
So,
yeah, and then that's other things that people just don't think about.
Well,
and events like
Okay.
this force you to. It just reminds you that you're part of a larger ecosystem. You're just not in your bubble. And so even though we hear it over and over again, what affects me affects everything, and vice versa. And so I think these kind of events bring that back. Now, which you didn't have to, this will cause that. But you just see how connected we are, whether you want to be or not. And so it behooves us to be kind to each other, to take care of our surroundings.
Right. We're all in this boat together.
Yeah.
And these disasters are going to continue.
Yes, they will.
With global warming, my belief is that they're going to be more spread more often, and most likely a little more dangerous all along.
Well, there was a scientist who wrote something today. I just got so inundated. But he was making the point of, I just didn't read the whole article, how science could prove that Milton was and Helene were the cause of global warming. The rapidity, the warm weather, the warm water. Ray Charles can see that this is all connected.
Right. So this isn't going to go away. So we need to learn to band together, to work together.
And try to reduce. I don't know whether we've reached the point of no return, but what's the old saying? When will you learn that you can't eat your money?
Right.
Well, we could be doing a lot better than how we distribute energy and use energy, and what kind of energy we use. Let's put it that way.
So true. So it's time to get to work. But I'll tell you what, we are so grateful that you guys are all right. We were very concerned. I probably did a bad thing by posting, our friends in Asheville, we're not hearing from them. We get a
No,
little,
that's not a bad
Yeah.
thing at all.
so
I'm
everybody's
glad you did.
commenting and sending me messages. Is Michael
No,
okay?
it was beautiful. And
Yeah, a lot of people were asking about you guys.
and deeply appreciated. Yeah, yeah. And so we try to get back to normal, whatever normal is going to be
Yeah.
going forward.
Is
I
there
see
any way?
Bill's giving us the signal.
Yeah, he is. But before we go, is there anything that the rest of us can do? Is there a link where people can make donations or volunteer?
Yeah, there are several links that you can donate to. The United Way of Asheville is one that comes to mind.
Do you want
there's
to
also,
text them to me?
I
And
can,
send
yeah, I
them?
can certainly send them
That
to
may
you.
be better.
Okay.
Samaritan's Purse is another one that's here and has been very helpful in the community. But there are also a lot of nonprofits here locally that are just suffering, like Brother Wolf Rescue. Manna Food Bank is another one that their facility was just destroyed.
If you
Yeah.
send
And
it
they
to me,
provide
I can
food
send it to
to
you.
Yeah,
people.
you get that to us, we'll put it out there for
Yeah.
our friends.
Okay.
Well,
can
Dawn
absolutely
can
do
send it
that.
directly
Yeah.
to one of us. Well, probably me because I do the posting.
Okay.
Be happy to
would be
send that
great.
to you.
Yeah,
That would
that'd
be
be great.
The other thing too is that once we are ready for people to come back, people need to come to Asheville. Plan a vacation here. Come to Asheville.
Maybe
We're
I'll-
gonna need you. We
maybe
need your tourist dollars. We need you here.
All right. We'll do that.
You'll have us anyway.
And it's
I don't know about
it is still
You got a place to stay.
that's
Yeah.
right.
You got
That's
a
right.
you
And
got
it
a
is
bedroom
still a
up there.
beautiful place. It is an absolutely beautiful place here.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once we get water back everywhere,
Right.
we'll be ready.
Rebuild a little bit, but
Well, we appreciate you guys coming on with us tonight. It's
Oh, this was good. This was
Yeah.
good. It was a great idea. I'm glad you
Yeah.
thought of.
and we're just glad you're okay, and we keep saying that, but it's sure that's what we mean. And hang in there, guys.
Yeah. And go Tigers.
Yeah, go Tigers.
go Tigers.
And
But yes,
go Lions.
we will be posting some links, and hopefully it won't take long to get things back in order. I know there's another, is it Hurricane Leslie coming up
Are you kidding
behind
me? Oh my God.
Milton?
They're coming fast and furious, baby.
I'm
They're
hoping
coming.
that she's
Coming.
nice and quiet.
The weather wizard is going to have to get to work here. I'll tell you
Right.
that.
You two take care. God bless.
Yeah.
Thank
Love
you
you guys.
God
Love you
for
guys.
being here.
bless.
Thanks.
Everybody
Thanks.
have a fantastic week, and until we meet again, may all of your awakenings be mystical.
Mwah.
We love you.
Bye, y'all. Live
Bye.
long.